Welcome to Mrs. K's Way of the Chapter 3 review, Percents, Rates, and Ratios. I'm going to be talking about problem number 6. Now, I hope you're buckled in because problem number 6 is this whole entire problem right here, and I'm going to be going through A, B, C, D, and E. So if you want to go to a certain part of the video, you obviously can go from the beginning to the end, or you can plop around, but just to warn you, this is a long video, so use it as you need it. This is the whole entire problem. The table shows the relationship between the purchase price and the number of pounds of dirt purchased for two different landscaping companies. Both companies charge a consistent amount per pound of dirt. So we have two companies and we have all of these different questions. So the first question we're going to be talking about is to copy and complete the table. So I've copied company A and company B here. Now we want to try to be able to complete these different missing values. Now, company A has a pretty easy value, and then we'll talk about company B and how we can see later on how easy it is to complete that table. So first we see that the ratio of pounds of dirt to the cost is 2 to 10, or the rate is 2 pounds of dirt per $10. Now, if I had 2 pounds of dirt for $10, I want to know how much it's going to be for $20. Now, this one's pretty easy to do in our head because if we cost twice as much, we're also going to get twice the amount of dirt. So we know that it's going to be 4 pounds of dirt for $20. Now, if we decided to pay for $50, we know that's 5 times or times 5. And because 10 times 5 will get us 50, we also want to multiply our amount of dirt times 5 to get us 10 pounds of dirt. Now this last one is we are giving the total pounds of dirt and we want to try to find the total cost. It's very similar. How do I get from 2 all the way to 20 pounds? Now if I didn't know what to do, I could divide 20 by 2 and I would see that 2 times 10 will get me 20. So I also want to do that same amount for my cost. 10 times 10 will give me $100. Now I could have also seen here that how do I get from 4 to 20 or 10 to 20. That way I could have just been able to also figure out 4 times 5, 20 times 5 will give me 100. Or 10 times 2 gives me 20, so 50 times 2 gives me 100. Doesn't matter which way, just as long as you know what your different ratio is. Now, for B, we want to try to be able to get from 6 to a certain number, and also, how do we get from 24 to 36? Well, that's not so easy. So what we want to try to do is before we even do anything else, we can see that our ratio of 6 pounds per $24, we can reduce that to see how much it costs and we can simplify it. So I know that both 24 and 6 are both divisible by 6. So I can reduce down this other way and see that 6 divided by 6 would give me 1 pound of dirt and 24 divided by 6 would give me $4. So this right here happens to also be our unit rate. For company B, our ratio would be 1 pound per $4, or $4 per 1 pound. So we know if we want to try to get from 4 to 36, it will be the same as going from 1 to this mystery number. So since 4 times 9 gives us 36, 1 times 9 will give us 9 pounds of dirt. So we now know that 9 pounds of dirt costs $36. Let's keep going for our last one too. How do we get from 4 to 144? Well, that one's not so simple, so I reminded you that you can divide the 144 divided by 4 and see that it actually happens to go in 36 times. So, since that's going to be 4 times 36 will give me 140, 1 times 36 will give me 36. So 36 pounds per $144. Now this is very similar to how we're going to find our last one here. How do we get from 1 to 20? Well, we're going to multiply that by 20, so we're now going to multiply 4 times 20, and we know that 20 pounds of dirt will cost us $80. I rewrote our two tables up top without the rainbows, just so that we have a nice clean example. But we now just did A, where we completed and copied the table. So now we want to talk about B. Which company has the better price? Justify your answer. Now we can do this two different ways. We can either try to find the unit rate of both company A and company B, or we can just look currently right now at the two different tables. In order to justify our answer, we want to try to find a time where both company A and company B either have the same amount of pounds of dirt or they have the same amount of cost. Now when we're looking through here, we can look the cost of 10, 20, 50, 100, and we see that company B does not have that same amount. Well, if we look at pounds of dirt, we have 2, 4, 10, and 20, and company B has 6, 9, 20, and 36. We happen to find a match. We can see that when company A has 20 pounds of dirt and company B has 20 pounds of dirt, we can be able to compare that rate. So for company A, 20 to 100 versus company B of 20 pounds versus $80. Now, if we have the same amount of pounds, we want to try to pay a smaller price. So because we have 20 pounds is only $80, company B has the better price. Because if we're getting the same amount, we want to pay the lesser money, and since 80 is less than 100, we know that company B is better. Now, I didn't want to do it using unit rate because that's what the next question is asking. What is the unit price of company A's dirt? Now, we already found company B's unit rate when we did our table earlier, and we found out that the rate was 1 pound per $4. So we're going to do the same for the pounds of dirt for company A. So let me circle this problem and let's bring it down here. C. Since our unit rate, we can be able to rewrite our table, is our pounds per dollar. We want to try to get from 2 pounds and $10 to how much it's going to cost per 1 pound. We can divide that by 2. So we're also going to divide 10 by 2. And we have 1 pound is equal to $5. Now, if we wanted to be able to do B again, we can see that company A has 1 pound is $5 and company B is 1 pound for $4. So even though we did it a second way, we still see that company B is the better price. Now let's talk about D. How much would company A charge for 15 pounds of dirt? So I remind you, for D, we're going to use that beautiful rate that we have here of pounds per dollar. And just like what we had over here, we found our unit rates, because remember, a unit rate is when we have one of our parts, either pounds or dollars, that is equal to 1. So it's 1 pound per $5. Now we want to try to get from 1 pound to 15 pounds. So we're able to do that by multiplying by 15. So then we also are going to multiply our cost by 15 times. And we know that 5 times 15 is equal to 75. So that means that it will cost $75 for, whoops, that's a little messy. for 15 pounds. So that's D. And last but not least, write an equation that compares the pounds of dirt purchased, D, from Company A to the total cost. This is asking, if I look at my chart here and I see my pounds and my dollars, what is happening to my pounds of dirt, D, and my total cost, or money, C? What happens as I go from 1 to 5, or from 15 to 17? Even in my table up here, as I go down from 2 to 10, 4 to 20, 10 to 50, we notice that each time we are multiplying by 5. So now all I need to do to make my equation is I take my dirt, I know I'm going to multiply that times 5, and that will give me my total cost. I can also write it as 5D is equal to C, since we can imply that that's multiplication. And that is for letter E, my equation for my Company A. Just in case you were curious about maybe going a little step further, for Company B, you would have 4 times D is equal to the cost. So that way we can compare Company A and Company B. But that's just a little extra there. If you stuck it out this long, here's your reward. Here's a picture of my Callie girl watching the movie The Fox and the Hound, which happens to be one of her favorite movies, especially because it is about a little puppy named Copper and his best friend Todd, who is a fox. So she loved that movie, and here's a cute picture of her watching it. Thanks for watching, you guys. I hope this helped.